Hello everyone, this is Marshall Official. This is going to be yet another prediction for the election of 2024 between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Things are developing extremely rapidly, and Donald Trump has made some gains and actually has made one loss, but we will be looking at that one in depth. We are also going to be going through Atlas's polls. These are extremely important. They released a new one for October, and the information here is extremely important for figuring out who's going to win this election and who has the advantage here. I would also like to take a moment to point out that 84.4% of you guys are not subscribed. So if you would please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. It truly does help the channel out a lot. And by the way, if we can, it would mean a whole lot to me. Let's try and see if we can hit 1,000 subscribers before election night. If we are able to hit 1,000 subscribers before election night, it would truly mean the world to me. And I will be able to guarantee you an in-depth analysis of the election. Thank you all for getting me this far, and we only need about 150 more. I would also like to give a shout out to a brand new channel that just hit YouTube today. The channel is called the Press Start to Begin podcast, and they just released two podcasts today on YouTube. One of them, which I personally like quite a lot, is about Doom, the history of the Doom game, and they support me. So shout out to those guys. Go give them some subscribers. Go give them some views. They really deserve it. The channel is run by somebody who I know personally very well, and they are a very nice person. So just go give them some views and likes and subscribers because they really deserve it. So thank you very much. That's all. Okay, guys. So starting off here, Alice's national poll, the U.S. presidential election in 2024. See, this is dated around the 12th to the 17th. I should have got this a little bit earlier, but it doesn't really matter. This information is still extremely current and absolutely relevant. So we're just gonna get right on into this. This is not a direct poll about who's winning what, but it breaks it down to all this different information that's going to matter for the people who are going to vote. Starting off right here. So this is just the simple question: provide that these were the candidates, who would you vote for in the upcoming presidential election? 50.7% said Donald Trump, 47.6% said Kamala Harris. So Donald Trump has a 3.1% lead over Kamala Harris among the people who were asked. Just who are you gonna, with these candidates on the ticket, who are you going to vote for? Donald Trump does hold a pretty good advantage here. We can see that. And not only that, these other candidates are mostly left-wing candidates. So even though they're not going to get many votes, whatever votes they do get will take votes away from Kamala Harris. Moving on here, this is just the exact same thing, but it breaks it down into all these different groups and categories, so you can really see, how does it break down among all these different people. Starting off over here with gender, we're only going to look at man and woman. But you can see here, Donald Trump does hold an advantage in men. He has 49.8% to Kamala Harris 48.1%. Same with women, 51.7 to 47.1%. So Donald Trump does hold the advantage there. Moving over to age, we can see Kamala Harris does hold the advantage among younger people. 18 to 29 are leaning towards Kamala Harris by about 6% are leaning towards her. But all the rest of them, 30 to 44, 45 to 64, and 65 plus, are all by slim margins for the most part leaning towards Donald Trump. 30 to 44 is a pretty good margin. But moving on here to education, you see college degree or higher. This does lean towards Harris. That's pretty good news for her. That's about a 15 point advantage for Kamala Harris among people with college degrees or higher. But among all others, Donald Trump does hold a 17% lead over all others. So that's good for him. Moving on over here to income, people that are below 50K are leaning towards Donald Trump. It's just all across the board, except actually, and surprisingly, according to this poll, people that make above $100,000 are actually leaning towards Kamala Harris, interestingly enough. But people that are below 50K and 50K to 100K are both leaning towards Donald Trump. Moving here to location, this is not a surprise whatsoever. Donald Trump, it does hold a disadvantage at this point in the urban areas. That is not a surprise. The urban areas do tend to be more liberal. Suburban, it is basically actually a tie, which is quite incredible. It's literally 49.3 to 49.4. That is a 0.1% difference, but it basically is a tie. So Kamala Harris does hold a very narrow advantage. I mean, very narrow advantage among suburban voters. Among rural, though, it is basically just a landslide for Trump among rural voters, which is again not very surprising. Over here to partisanship, you can see 5.5% of Democrats are voting for Donald Trump, and the rest are voting for Kamala Harris for the most part. That's not a surprise. Republicans, again, vast majority are voting for Donald Trump, and only a few of them are going to be voting for Kamala Harris. Among independents, this is very important. Among independents, Donald Trump does definitely hold the advantage here among independents. That is very important. So moving over here to race, we can see that Kamala Harris does hold an advantage among Asian voters. That's not much of a surprise, but it's not a big advantage though. It is somewhat close. The only big one for Kamala Harris is the black vote, where she does hold pretty much double what Donald Trump has in terms of black vote. Hispanic vote is also kind of close, but Kamala Harris again will hold the advantage here. But among white people have the majority of the country is white, and Donald Trump does hold the advantage among white people, so that is also significant. And among others, Donald Trump again holds a narrow disadvantage here, but it's not a huge difference nonetheless. And this is quite important here. This I should point this out. So this is saying the people. So who did you vote for in 2020, and how does it compare to who you're voting for now, basically? So you can see here of the people that voted for Joe Biden in 2020, only 88.5% of them are voting for Kamala Harris. 9.8% of the people who voted for Joe Biden in 2020 are now voting for Donald Trump. Donald Trump here, take a look at this. 96.9% of the people who voted for him in 2020 are again going to be voting for him, and only 2.4% of people who voted for him in 2020 are switching to Kamala Harris. That's interesting. You may have noticed, I want to point this out, you may have noticed that in a lot of Kamala Harris's ads, actually no, I should say all of Kamala Harris's ads, she's constantly showing people on the screen who say they voted for Donald Trump before and are now voting for Kamala Harris. They've switched from Donald Trump to Kamala Harris. And the ads give you a feel that, wait a minute, there seems to be a lot of people who liked Donald Trump before, but no longer like him. They're voting for Kamala Harris now. But right here, you can see the information, the statistics of the polls right here show the opposite. And instead it's the other way around. The majority of people who voted for Joe Biden are actually there's actually not the majority, but a larger percentage of people who voted for Joe Biden are actually switching to Donald Trump than there are people switching from Donald Trump to Kamala Harris. So actually, in fact, it's 4 times, almost 5. It's almost 5, but it's 4 times the amount of people that vote for Joe Biden are now switching for Donald Trump compared to people that are voting for Donald Trump that are now voting for Kamala Harris. It's literally the other way around. There are a lot more people moving from Joe Biden to Donald Trump than from Donald Trump to Kamala Harris. So just wanted to point that out there. So those ads that Kamala Harris has are actually don't seem to be telling the true story, because it's actually the other way around. Let's move on from that. I am not going to be going over this chart, by the way, for every single issue, because this video would be an hour long. So I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to do it for this one, and then for the rest of them, I'll show it to you guys. If you guys want to pause and watch it, go right ahead. Or pause and read it, go right ahead. But I'm not going to be breaking it down for every single one of these slides. It's just no point. So we won't be doing that. If you guys want to pause and look at it, I will give you the opportunity to do that. Okay, and now this is more important. I mentioned up here how these candidates, these extra third-party candidates, are actually going to take the vote away from Kamala Harris, not from Donald Trump, because these guys are also liberal. For the most part, they're all pretty liberal. So they're going to take the vote away from Kamala Harris, not Donald Trump. And this poll shows that. In a head-to-head race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, so if Donald Trump and Kamala Harris were your only options, if they were your only options, who would you vote for? Kamala Harris actually gained some ground here, because you can see 48.1% of people say they'll vote for Kamala Harris. 50.8% said they'll vote for Donald Trump. Now, that's actually closer than up here. It's 47.6 to 50.7 up here. So Donald Trump keeps the exact same margin. Kamala Harris goes down a little bit up here, because these people are going to be on the ticket, so you will have the option to vote for them. And then because of that, it's going to cause Kamala Harris to actually go down in votes. Whereas down here, this is if just Donald Trump and Kamala Harris were your only options, then she gains a little bit of ground, not enough, but she gains some. But because there will be other people on the ballot, she's going to lose some votes to them. So that is also important. This is just the same thing in a different graph. And again, here, if you want to go ahead and pause and read it, go right ahead. This is just breaking it down by the different groups. Go right ahead. We're gonna skip this and go on to this one. Between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, which candidate do you reject more? Basically, just the opposite of what the previous question was. You can see, obviously, it's literally the exact same thing. More people reject Kamala Harris than people who reject Donald Trump. So just what you expect there. Here's a breakdown of it. Moving on. Okay, now we get to the really important stuff. Well, that other stuff was also really important, but this is also extremely important. So these are the different issues. These are the issues that voters are going to have on their mind when they go to cast their ballot. So you're going to go in there thinking about, wait, who do I want to vote for all these issues over here? Who's going to do better for these issues? And we can see here Donald Trump holds a major advantage here. I mean, major advantage. There are only 3 issues on this board that Kamala has a lead in, and that is environmental protection, reproductive rights, and healthcare. She has a very slim 1% lead in healthcare, but not a majority. There is 5 people in the middle who don't know or are neither. With reproductive rights, Kamala Harris actually does hold a pretty good advantage here, which makes sense. She's obviously the one running as the person who wants to keep abortion. She's running as the pro-abortion person. Environmental protection also makes sense, but bear in mind she's pro and she wants help. She's trusted more with environmental protection But that will actually conflict some of these other ones that Donald Trump has a lead in down here. Like, for example, U.S. economy and job market, reducing inflation, stuff like that will actually go against it because, well, how do you protect? Well, one way, well, what's her way of protecting the environment? Well, she wants to cut back on gas. She's against fracking. Well, a lot of voters were very against that because they're more concerned with the economy and inflation. So that actually might go against her, even though she does hold the lead in it. And just looking at this, Donald Trump holds a major lead. Donald Trump just holds the lead in literally everything else. Education, 2% lead. Safeguarding democracy, and one of the big things Kamala Harris is trying to run on is that she's the better candidate because Donald Trump had tried to overthrow the election. He tried to launch a revolution against the government, and yet here, safeguarding democracy, he's trusted more with that than Kamala Harris is. That really tells you something about this election. So it just shows you how much of an advantage Donald Trump really does have here. Poverty and inequality, Trump has a 5% lead. Appointing justices to the Supreme Court has a 4% lead for Donald Trump. U.S. economy and job market, 8% lead for Donald Trump. War in Ukraine, 6% lead for Donald Trump. He says he's gonna bring peace. He's gonna end that war. Combating corruption, 5% lead for Donald Trump. Reducing inflation, 9% lead for Donald Trump. National debt, 6% for Donald Trump. Immigration, 12. This is his biggest one. 12% for Donald Trump. China-U.S. competition, 12% for Donald Trump. Conflicting between Israel and Hamas, 11% for Donald Trump. So you can clearly see that the vast majority of these issues go to Donald Trump, and a lot of them go to Donald Trump by a good, strong margin. Kamala Harris, again, only has 3 of them on her side, and this one's only 1%. So it's not looking good for Kamala Harris when it comes to these issues, because these are the issues people are going to be thinking about when they go to cast their ballot. Okay, here we go. This is the how do you plan to vote? This is important because we know mail-in ballots tend to favor the Democrats. So people who mail in their ballot are probably voting for Kamala Harris. People that vote in person but they're voting early, we'll split this one in half. We'll say half of them vote for Donald Trump, half of them vote for Kamala Harris, and people who vote in person on election day, the vast majority are going to be voting for Donald Trump. That's what we know. Well, if we break it down like this, we can again see who is winning because let's look at it like this. So we basically have 25% of people who are voting early. Well, let's say 5% are going Republican. The other 20 are going Democratic. In person, we'll split this in half. We'll just say 16.8 are going Republican. But this is too big. Okay. 16.8 are going Democratic. So Republicans, we'll just split this right in half. On election day, it's the same. On election day, we're going to do the same thing. We'll say 7%. 7 are going Democratic, and 32 are going Republican. Look at it like this. We can just see if we just add together the 32% going Republican for the people voting on election day and the 16.8% of people voting Republican on early voting, Donald Trump already has a near advantage. And you add on the other 5% from the people who voted early, that puts him in the majority. That will put him. Let's do 32 plus 16.8 plus 5 gets you 53.8. So that's the majority. So if you look at it like this, with how people tend to vote, whether they're voting in person, early voting, or mail-in ballot, Donald Trump gets the advantage here as well. 53.8% of people are going to vote for him out of 100. By looking at how they vote, because we know how people tend to trend when they vote like this. So let's move on from that. Again, same thing, just broken down by group. Pause and read if you want to. Now going to presidential approval. This is big. Do you approve or disapprove of Joe Biden's performance as president of the United States? We can see here 54.3% of people disapprove of Joe Biden. They think Joe Biden was a bad president. So the majority of people say he's a bad president. Why is this important? Because this will spill over to Kamala Harris because Joe Biden's running mate was Kamala. Don't question my writing. Anyways, but yeah, this will spill over to Kamala because Joe Biden's vice president was Kamala Harris. So if people don't like Joe Biden, a lot of these people probably don't like Kamala Harris either. Moving on from this. Same thing in a different graph. Pause and read if you want to. Moving on. How do you evaluate Joe Biden's performance as president? A majority of people say he was bad. You would think it would be like 33, 33, 33. 33% was good, 33 said it was regular, 33 said it was bad. No, it's a majority. A slim majority, but a majority nonetheless. A majority say Joe Biden was a terrible president. That the majority of people, and again, that's going to really spill over to Kamala Harris. So this is just not bad. This is just bad news for Kamala because bad news for Joe Biden is bad news for her. Different graph. The rate pause if you want to. This is important. How do you qualify President Biden's handling of the following issues? So remember what we saw. We saw the issues that were on people's mind up here. Just running it back up here real quick. We saw the issues on people's mind. Well, how did Joe Biden deal with those issues in his presidency? And remember, people are going to be comparing Joe Biden. They're going to see a connection between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Well, we look at this. Every single one of these issues, Joe Biden handled horribly. There's not a single one of these things where the people say that was good or excellent had the advantage. It's bad and terrible across the entire board for how Joe Biden handled every single one of these issues. Safeguarding democracy, terrible. Job growth, terrible. Healthcare, terrible. Environmental protection, terrible. War in Ukraine, horrible. So all these issues are what voters care about, and they're going to see a connection between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And we can see right here that looking at how people thought Joe Biden handled it, they think it was terrible. They think he screwed up big on everything. So that's going to have a bad effect on Kamala Harris. Moving on from that, this is just simply saying who do you think has the better image? Whose image is better, than the other person? And this is different. In the previous Atlas Intel poll that they released, it was the other way around. It went in the order of I'll just flip this on. Barack Obama was still first, so he's still at the top. Michelle Obama was next, and then after that, I believe number 3 was actually Kamala Harris. Was right here. Below her was Donald Trump. J.D. Vance, in 1, 2, 3, 5th place was Tim Walz, and in 6th place was J.D. Vance. So it's a complete flip around. It used to be Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, Tim Walz, J.D. Vance, and then Joe Biden was down here. But now it's literally flipped around. Now J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's vice president, is higher than Kamala Harris, who's running for president. That is abysmal news for Kamala Harris. This is just a major breakdown of what you see right here, so just go ahead and read that if you want to. This is even more of it. Yeah. Key topics in the U.S. presidential race. Okay. Now this is what's very important. So we saw up here. Let me just move it up here. We saw up here what the issues were and who had the advantage in those issues. Well, we know Donald Trump is leading on issues, but what are the issues that voters cared about the most? Well, that's what this is down here. If we look at this down here, right here, we can see here the biggest issue in the country, the biggest issue number 1 is actually not the economy, believe it or not. It's actually immigration. The immigration crisis is the top number 1 issue. Well, consider this. Give me 1 second. Well, here, consider this. We can see right here how Donald Trump is ahead by 12%, by more than 12% for the immigration crisis. And that's the biggest issue. The number 1 biggest issue goes to Donald Trump by 12%. That is major news, and that is horrible news for Kamala Harris. The number 1 biggest issue is immigration, and Trump holds a massive advantage on that issue. What comes next? Inflation, the cost of living. Well, we can see right here, reducing inflation. Trump has a 9% lead on that one as well. U.S. economy and job market. Well, we can see right here, U.S. economy and job market. Trump has an 8% lead on that one. Safeguarding democracy is the 4th biggest issue with 34.3% of people. So this is basically what this is telling you. When people are asked, what are the issues you're going to have on your mind when you go to cast your ballot? And this is how many people said immigration, how many people said inflation, how many people said job market. Safeguarding democracy, Trump has a 2% lead on that one. He's ahead on that one as well. Challenges to reproductive rights, so abortion. It's not till you get to the 5th place issue that you see one that Kamala Harris has the lead in. Reproductive rights, Kamala Harris has an 8% lead on that one. And only 27.6% of people said this is an issue that they're going to have on their mind when they go to cast their ballot. So 52%, the vast majority of people, the first 4 biggest issues are all going to Donald Trump by major margins. And it's not until you get to the fifth issue that Kamala Harris is the lead on that issue. And it's only 27.6% of people said that this is going to be on their mind when they cast their ballot. That is horrible news for Kamala Harris. And even these other ones, she's ahead for environmental protection. Well, climate change is only 14%. That's not nearly enough to put her over the top. And what is the number? What is really the only thing Kamala Harris is running on? It's really only two things she's running on. She's running on abortion rights, and she's running on taxes. She's going off and on about the Trump tax, the Trump tax. Well, look at this, taxes. Only 6.4% of people actually care about the taxes when they cast their ballot. So when the people go to cast their ballot, only 6% of people are actually going to care about taxes when they go to cast their ballot. People care about the immigration, they care about the economy, but taxes, not really. They don't care about the taxes really. That's actually, you think that'd be way up top, but it's not. So Kamala Harris, she's literally she's running on abortion rights, which is right here, and taxes right here. 27 and 6%. That is nowhere near enough to give her the White House. And so all her talk about the Trump tax, it's not going to matter because this is not enough people who care about that. People care about the immigration crisis, the cost of living, and the U.S. economy and the job market, which Trump all has major advantages in. And all three of these in the top three biggest issues, which are 50% and higher, basically, he has a major advantage in. That is the worst news Kamala can possibly have, basically. Again, pause and read if you want to. How much trust do you have in the following institutions? FBI is bad, CIA bad, U.S. Secret Service is bad, Supreme Court bad, U.S. Congress bad. I'm not really sure what kind of effect this is going to really have. It might help either side depending on certain things, but this is all I might as well look at it. Pause and read if you want to. Do you support or oppose each of the following policies? Restatement of Roe versus Wade. So this will help Kamala Harris, and yes, this one is in favor of people. But don't forget, only 27% of people care about that when they go to cast their ballot. So it doesn't really matter. But legalize marijuana. More people favor that one. Building the wall, that will help Kamala Harris. So actually, I'm gonna write this down. So over here we have, this will be, I'll put K for this one. Tax hikes on high income earners. A majority of people do that one probably will help Kamala Harris as well. Kamala Harris. Building the wall on the border with Mexico. There's a major advantage on that one. That one's going to go to Donald Trump. Legalize marijuana. That one is in favor, so that will probably help go to Kamala Harris. Trade barriers to protect U.S. manufacturing. There's a major lead on this one. That will definitely go to Donald Trump. Immunity from criminal prosecution of Donald Trump. This one is against that one, so this one will go to Kamala Harris. Citizenship pathway for undocumented citizens. There is a very minor lead on this one. So this one will probably go to Kamala Harris by just a tiny little bit. Military funding for Ukraine, a slim lead on this one as well. Kamala Harris this one honestly could go either way. This is not a big issue for the election itself, but it will probably lean towards Kamala Harris. Strikes on Houthi rebels disrupting naval traffic in the Red Sea. This one will definitely go to Donald Trump. Absolutely will go to Donald Trump. U.S. financial support for Israel. Definitely will go to Donald Trump. That one is supported. Military action against China in the event of invasion of Taiwan. Really, there is such a margin of error. So this one I'm just gonna put nothing. Nothing. This one could go either way. Look at this margin of error. This don't know in the middle. That 31%. Just no way. Not worth. You can't get that to either side. And rescinding Obamacare. Donald Trump says he wants to replace Obamacare. So this one will definitely go to Kamala Harris. So looking at this, when it comes to these different policies, it does support Kamala Harris. This is probably the first one that does go to her, at least a little bit. So that is worth mentioning a little bit. And again, but here, in your opinion, was the January 6, 2021 invasion of the U.S. Capitol justified or unjustified? Vast majority of people say it's unjustified. So yes, this one will go against Donald Trump at least a little bit. But again, he's favored when it comes to protecting democracy. He's favored for that one. So bear that in mind. Pause, read if you want to. Honestly, I don't think this one's that important, but we'll go over it. Would you say there's a significant polarization and social conflict in the United States between the following groups? People who support different political parties. Yeah, they think it's strong conflict. I'm not even read. You guys can read it. Conflict. And people think there's a very strong polarization. That's what it comes down to. There's a strong polarization in the United States That's what matters. That's what they're saying. It's very strong polarization. Pause me if you want to. Now it comes to the economy. Now this is what's gonna this right here is probably the single most important slide on this entire document. How do you evaluate the U.S. economy and job market right now? And how do you evaluate your family's economic situation? This is the number one thing. I'm gonna put a star. This is the number one thing that people are gonna truly care about. And remember, job market was one of the biggest issues. The U.S. economy. These are the top two biggest issues right here. And Donald Trump is ahead in both of these. But we can see here, when it comes to the job market, a majority of people say it's bad. Family situation, majority of people say it's bad. U.S. economy, majority of people say it's bad. Those three things, the fact that the current administration is having to deal with this is just horrible, because this shows how the people think this is how people think the current administration handled things. They think they handled it badly, and that's going to reflect on Kamala Harris significantly. This is why Donald Trump made a very smart move when he connected himself to Ronald Reagan. You saw in a lot of his ads, he was using Ronald Reagan for his ads, which is very smart. Because remember, Ronald Reagan, one of his most famous quotes ever was, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" He made that quote when he was running for election, and he made that quote at the debate. That's what he said, and then Donald Trump is using that. In fact, I'll show you the clip right now.
Next Tuesday, all of you will go to the polls. Will stand there in the polling place and make a decision. I think when you make that decision, it might be well if you would ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go and buy things in the stores than it was 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the country than there was 4 years ago? Is America as respected throughout the world as it was? Do you feel that our security is as safe, that we're as strong as we were 4 years ago? And if you answer all of those questions yes, why then I think your choice is very obvious as to who you'll vote for. If you don't agree, if you don't think that this course that we've been on for the last 4 years is what you would like to see us follow for the next 4, then I could suggest another choice that you have.
Donald Trump is using that for his election campaign. That is an extremely smart move by Donald Trump. And that's what Donald Trump wants. He is trying to inflate what you see right here. What you see right here, Donald Trump wants to inflate this to like a bigger degree. He doesn't just want people to think about this. He wants this to be on their mind completely when they cast their ballot. They're saying, hey, wait a minute. The job market's bad. My family's not doing too good. And this economy is really bad. Do I really want to vote for the administration that caused that? Maybe, or do I want to vote for the guy who's a little bit different, who might do something different, and maybe he'll do better? Yeah, I think I'm gonna vote for that guy. That's what you see here. That's how Donald Trump is gonna win this election, and it's gonna be with this right here. This is how he's gonna win the election. But we still have a few more things to go over. So this, breaking it down by different groups right here. And here, what is your expectation regarding this economy and job market 6 months from now? So after the election, after Inauguration Day, do you think it's gonna get better? Well, if the majority of people think it's bad under this administration, which reflects Kamala Harris, and they think it's going to get better. A lot of people think it's going to get better in 6 months. That means they're going to be voting for Donald Trump, because they're going to be voting for the guy who thinks he's going to change things. It could also be other things. They might think it'll just get better by itself. That could be one thing. But this is a pretty good reflection. Donald Trump is ahead in this election, because people are looking towards him to fix things. We already saw earlier how he had a major lead in all of the issues except for like abortion and the environment. That's it, really. He had a major lead in basically everything, and and that included immigration, the border crisis, immigration, the job market, the inflation, the economy, all those things. He has a major lead in, and this is reflecting that. Break it down. Pause if you want to. I think this might be our last thing. Yeah, this is our last one. Yeah. How much do you agree or disagree with the following statements or economic policy on 1 to 5 scale? Is it better for government to cut spending than increase taxes? Taxes are not going to be a big part of this election. We saw it earlier. Only 6% of people care about the taxes when they cast their ballot. But it is worth mentioning that is it better for the government to cut spending than increase taxes? Really, I don't see it. This could go either way. People do agree with that statement, but who they gonna vote for based off that? I really don't know. It could go either way. The state should not regulate the prices of goods and services. This one will definitely go against Kamala Harris. Why? Because we know that she is pro a lot of socialist policies. So her doing this will actually go against her. But the people are saying the state should not regulate that. The state should not regulate the prices like that. So this will favor Donald Trump. The state should respect a spending ceiling in order to avoid increasing national debt, even if that means less social assistance. This goes to show you how the way a question is worded really can skew the vote. It can create public opinion. This question is the opposite of this question, and yet look at the margin. It's exactly the same. So the state should not regulate the price of goods and services. Majority of people say that's true. It should not regulate it. But then the very next question: the state should respect a spending ceiling in order to avoid. Look how it's worded. They're trying to get you to say yes to this. This question this question is neutral. It just simply says should we regulate it? Should we not regulate it? Your options are should we regulate it? Should we not? It doesn't give you any of the. But this question is different. This question says the state should respect the spending ceiling, but instead of being a question mark right here, it says in order to avoid increasing national debt, even if that means less social assistance. Well, people are going to say, wait a minute, I don't want the national debt to go up. Why do I want that? So yeah, I agree with this. There's a lot of people that said yes to this and yes to this. Is what this tells you. A lot of people said yes to this and yes to this. We should not regulate it and we should regulate it. That's what this is telling you. That goes to show you how the way you word a question can skew the vote and create public opinion. And that's what this question is neutral. This one's not. So that just goes to show you how that can happen. The state should not interfere in the market to protect companies or economic sectors. So basically, should the state interfere in the market? And it says, and a lot of people say no, it shouldn't. That will favor Donald Trump. Because he's the one he's running he's running as the guy who favors the American dream. What does that mean? It means the American dream means it's the idea that everybody can do good by themselves. You don't have to. The government does not have to give you extra stuff. If you make good decisions, if you're not lazy, you will succeed in life. Is what that comes down to. If you're smart and not lazy, you will succeed in life. If you just do it yourself, you can succeed and become successful. That's all that it means. That's what the American dream is. But Kamala Harris, so Donald Trump is running as the guy who favors the American dream. So this one will favor him. Kamala Harris is running as the person who wants to do this who wants to take the socialist path. Kamala Harris is running as the person who says, I'm going to take the socialist path and just bump you guys up. Well, a majority of people do not agree with that, as you can see here. This one actually, but this one is the opposite of this one. This one is like the other extreme. The state should not manage any commercial business, and all public companies should be privatized. So this question is kind of the opposite of here. Should we go back to laissez-faire, where there was no regulation whatsoever? Should we get rid of all socialist policies entirely and just completely go back to 100% capitalism? By 1%, people say no to this, and there's a very big in the middle. So and that basically and that I mean I'd say I agree with that. I don't think we should do that. I don't think we should go back to laissez-faire because that's what caused the hyper not joblessness but hyper poverty. If there absolutely is no regulation, then the government can't make sure that the meat you're getting is healthy. And there might be rats in your meat. There might be cockroach pellets in your meat when you go to buy food. There's no inspections. There's no people you can pay people slave wages. So going back to laissez-faire probably is a bad thing, but that is slightly reflected here. There should be some regulation, but we should not be socialist in our regulations. So this question says should we be socialist? People say no. This one says, should we be 100% capitalist? People say, or by a slim margin, people say no. So that just goes to show you what people. We're in the middle basically. We're somewhere in the middle, but we lean heavily towards capitalism, but it's still in the middle. We're not 100% capitalist, but we're still leaning towards capitalism, and Donald Trump supports that basically. And that's it. So here, if you want to pause and read this too, go right ahead. But that's everything that you need to. That's the whole Atlas Intel thing. So looking at that. Who do you think, especially looking at this, who do you think is winning this election? After everything we just went over, who is winning this election? Who's going to win after everything we just looked at? Well, I'm just gonna do it right now. Let's just fill in the states real quick. We'll do the polls in the next video, but we're just gonna go right now. look at everything and just say, let's close out right now with all that information that we just got. I'm not even gonna bother doing the different colors. I'm not even gonna bother that. So we know Kamala's gonna win these states and Hawaii. She will also win Illinois, and she'll win all these states up here, most likely. Maine, she will win the first district and the state as a whole, and she'll win the second district of Nebraska. She will also probably win New York. She'll win that. As for Donald Trump, he's easily gonna win all these states over here. Nebraska, he will easily win. He will win all these states easily. Oh, sorry. Actually, no. These states will go Kamala Harris. These states are all going to go to Donald Trump. Over here. Florida's going to go Donald Trump. North Carolina and Georgia will be Donald Trump. Arizona and Nevada will be Donald Trump. Alaska's Donald Trump. Pennsylvania, he will win the second district of the first district. Sorry, second district of Maine. He will win that. He will also is supposed to win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Kamala Harris will win Minnesota and Virginia. And with that, this is probably your election. Based on, and you want to know where this is really going to come into play. This is what you see here. It's going to be in these three states up here. It's going to be Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are going to feel the brunt of what you see right here. This question right here is what's going to truly matter in this election. So I just wanted to put that out there for you guys. But anyways, this is my election map. This is all after all that information that we just got from Atlas Intel. Who do you think is going to win? And I predict that this will be your election because of everything we just looked at from Atlas Intel. Thank you guys for watching this video. I know it was a long one, but it was worth it. I certainly think it was worth it at least. And my next video will be just be continuing going over the polls, going over everything else. And I'm gonna try to make a video every single day now up until election, the day before election day. The day before election day, I will make a major, like, all-out video. It might be an hour or so long, but I don't care. We'll be going over all this stuff: the polls, point market, the percentages, everything to make my final major prediction for who's going to win the election and how they're going to win it. So that will be my video on November 4th. I'll do that the day before the election day. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to try and get a video for this election out every single day up until then as well. So make sure you subscribe, hit the notification, and remember, let's try and see if we can hit 1,000 subscribers before election day. If we can do that, I will guarantee you guys an in-depth analysis about everything after the election. For whoever wins the election, we will do an in-depth analysis for how they won it and what happened. So let's do it, people. 1,000 subscribers before election night. Let's do it. So thank you guys for coming out, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.